everyone, it's Nicole McWork for Lawn Fawn, and today I have a card share featuring Lawn Fawn stamps and dies, as well as the Perfect Paper Crafting Company's spritzer. So to begin my card, I have die cut a rectangle using the small stitched rectangles Lawn Cuts dies, and I'm going to set that aside for a second, and I'm going to create some masks. This is some masking paper, and I'm going to lay that on one of my cutting mats here. And I'm going to lay out the stitched snowflake Lawn Cuts dies on my masking paper and run this through my die cut machine to create a whole bunch of masks. So I'm using several of the snowflake designs here, and I'll run them through, and then I will need to have a few more to fit the entire stitched rectangle that I die cut a minute ago. So I'll move those around a little bit and die cut several more. So once I have these all die cut, I can start masking off my stitched rectangle to begin my card. I'm going to take a little post-it tape here and mask off that outside edge from the stitch line to the edge of the rectangle. This will leave a nice mat all the way around my design. Once I have that masked off, I am going to grab my cutting plate from my Big Shot and carefully peel off these snowflake masks and then position them all over this rectangle design so that I can create a fun airbrush type looking background for my card. So I'm simply going to keep positioning all these snowflakes until I have them the way I want them to look. So these are removable masks now, and I could reuse them as many times as I wanted to, or at least until they lose their stickiness. I love being able to create quick masks using the masking paper this way. I want to make sure that they're pressed down really good so none of the ink will seep under these masks when I go to airbrush them. So now that I have all my masks in place, I'm going to take the spritzer tool and I am going to place my distress marker through the tool there and tighten it, and then I'll squeeze the bulb to apply the color. Now, one of the great things about this spritzing tool from the Perfect Paper Company is that Perfect Paper Crafting Company is that you can use lots of different markers with this airbrush tool. Copics work. Of course, the distress markers I'm using here work. Other types of markers, pretty much anything that you have, just try it out and see how it works. There are tons of ways to make lots of fun airbrushed effects. I wanted to mask off the snowflake effect so that the snowflakes will remain white, but my background will have lots of color. I'm using 3 colors of distress markers here: the chipped sapphire, evergreen bow, and the tumbled glass. So lots of blues. And I thought maybe I didn't want to have too much chipped sapphire. It looked like it was ending up in all 4 of the corners. So I put my tumbled glass back in, and I'm going to go ahead and make sure I have that covered really well. And you can see how quick and easy it is to change out your markers. It's just a really wonderful way to get that very cool airbrushed effect. Now, this is where I think the magic happens, is when you start peeling off those masks, you have these awesome snowflakes. Because before you do that, it kind of looks like a big mess. It's just a whole bunch of airbrushing. It would be a beautiful background if you did the background this way, but I think it looks super awesome when you pull off those masks and see all those snowflake designs that have been masked off. And when I peel off the sides, you can see it has an instant matte. So there is the background for my card. Very quick and easy. That did not take much time at all to do. Now I need to finish up my card, and I want to add a greeting on a banner. So I'm using this banner from the Lawn Fawn Penelope's Blossoms stamp and die set. So I'm going to stamp that with some Versamark ink on vellum. And then I'll use some white embossing powder to emboss the frame. Sprinkle this on, and I will heat set this And then I will go back in and add a greeting from the Deck the Halls stamp set. It fits perfectly in this banner, which I love. I like mixing and matching my stamp sets to get completely new and fun looks. I'll stamp that with Versamark as well inside the banner, and I'm going to emboss this with some silver embossing powder from Ranger. So I'll sprinkle that on and heat set that as well. Now once I have all the embossing done rather, I can go ahead and die cut this banner with the coordinating Penelope's Blossoms die. So I'll simply place that over my stamped images, hold it in place with a little post-it tape. I don't want it to accidentally shift when I run it through my big shot. And I will also die cut a solid white banner to place behind it on my card. I originally thought I wouldn't, but I thought that the text for the greeting kind of got lost with the busy snowflake background. So I did die cut an additional solid white banner to place behind it. Now I've stamped one of the cute little birds from the Winter Sparrow's Lawn Fawn stamp set, and I'm using the same colors of Distress ink to watercolor this bird. I've stamped the image on some Tim Holtz watercolor paper, and then I'm just scribbling the brush tip of my distress markers on my craft mat, picking up a little water with a damp paintbrush, and then picking up some of the marker color there, and then painting in my image. Very quick and easy, and it assures that since I'm using the same colors that I used for the airbrush background, that my bird will perfectly match the whole card. So I'm adding a little pink for his cheeks with some Spun Sugar Distress ink, and then a little spiced marmalade for his little beak. So once I have all of that colored in, and I'll add a little bit more color with some evergreen here over the tumbled glass, I'll set him aside to dry completely, and then I can run him through my big shot using the coordinating Winter Sparrow's Lawn Cuts die. Now that I have him die cut, I am going to go back in with my white gel pen and add some little dot detail to the tummy of my bird and also the cheeks. And then I thought it would be fun to add some sparkle to the white portions of these snowflakes on my background. So I'm taking the Wink of Stella clear glitter pen and just quickly brushing over all of the snowflake shapes. It's kind of hard to tell in the video and the photos, but in real life there's some nice shimmer and shine there with the snowflakes. I thought I would add just a tiny bit more detail to the scarf on my bird, so I'm using the white pen again to create a little plaid effect on his scarf. And now I'm ready to attach my greeting and the bird to the card. I'm using a little zig glue pin behind the white embossing on the vellum banner and attaching it to the white banner. And then I'll take some foam adhesive behind that and pop it up on my card. Place a little piece there, and I'll place it kind of near the top third portion of my card. I'll take another little piece of foam adhesive and pop that behind the bird, and then place that standing, or have him standing right there on top of the banner. I'm going to take a little glossy accents and apply it to the nose or the beak of the bird, and I'm going to use a straight pen to kind of spread that out. It'll just give the bird a cute little glossy nose. Finally, I'm going to take some gemstones from Doodlebug and place those on the centers of my snowflakes. They're silver sparkly gemstones, and they coordinate nicely with the silver embossing on the card. Now I decided to add a little bit of ribbon to help give a little separation of this stamped panel, an airbrushed panel, and the background of the card or the card base. So I'm going to loop together a couple of pretty ribbons and staple them together to hold them, or hold that shape, that little loop there at the top. And I also placed foam adhesive down each side of my panel, but not in the center. This gives the ribbon somewhere to go, and it kind of traps it in there and just secures it. I used a glue dot to secure the ribbons to the back of my stamped and airbrushed panel and left the tail ends loose. And once I peel off that foam adhesive and place that on my background, I can arrange those tails of the ribbon however I want and trim them, and the card is finished. Thanks for watching.